through which palms will be anointed, palms will be oiled. So another avenue for corruption. Now, when I talk about giving your asset away for 30 years, I'm referring specifically to the Gambia Ports Authority. Most of us know that when the Gambia Ports Authority was established in the 1970s, from being Marine Department to a fully fledged state corporation, it was doing very well. Its first managing director, I believe, was Captain Salah. Captain Salah did magnificent job as managing director of Gambia Ports Authority, and others came on. The Alh Ousainou, the Pachams, the Modigays, the Jaganas. They came in, even Jiba in Jammeh's time, and did wonderful work. In those days, goods destined for Guinea-Bissau were brought to the ports of Banjul. Goods destined for Mali were brought to the port of Banjul. And of course, the activities, the transit activities, was really serving our country in a lot of ways. Because it's just not port charges that we are there, but then vehicles hired from here and taking goods to Guinea-Bissau, to Mali. Now, even you have 10 bicycles, you want to ship to Bali, you have to take it to Dakar and have it landed in Dakar. What has happened? Is it that we have lost that quality of managers, the Pachams? Have we lost those qualities, quality managers? To the extent that we cannot operate our port in a way that will be of benefit to this country, do we have to give it away for free? As I say for free, because 30 years of a very strategic national asset given to a foreign-owned company really shows a lot or speaks a lot about the capability and capacity of the management. How many studies do we have on the expansion of the Banjul Port project? Is it not one of those studies that led to Halfdai to be moved? Huge amount of money paid as compensation to residents of Halfdai. I think the only structure that was saved in that area is the mosque, the Imam Muhammad Lamin Bas Mosque. That was only structure that was saved. Having spent all that money, and it was done on studies that were validated, why can't you implement that decision? Why do you give it away to a company elsewhere? I'm not against private company or foreign companies coming to the Gambia. I want them to come. I want them to come and invest. But our strategic national asset, I think, should be in the control of the Gambians. I think when government wants to have resources to develop the Gambia ports, to develop our harbor, I think they should have really organized a conference of Gambian entrepreneurs. And I believe they have sages, they have economic experts, have financial gurus in this country who will come out with suggestions that will ensure that Gambians, if they do not have full control or majority shares in the Gambia Post Authority, they will certainly have shares that is appreciable. But to give everything away and not affording the Gambians the opportunity to really buy it, I think, or to invest in it, I think that's really doing a great deal of disservice to our country and putting our national process in the hands of foreigners. After we have seen how Gambia Commercial and Development Bank was government owned, then you have a lot of Gambians who have shares in Trust Bank. Gambia Commercial and Development Bank end up being Trust Bank. It happened. Could such a scheme not have been worked out so that with the Gambian people participating, there could be ways and means of raising funds to really develop the budget to standards that meets every international standards. But again, this government certainly does not think in a way that will help put the economy of this country in the hands of Gambians. And I think when we come in, we make sure that the economy of this country is put in the hands of the Gambians. We hear Gamcel and Gamtel also are likely to be sold. If you go across to Nigeria, you'll find that the telecommunication industry is completely in the hands of Nigerians. Why can't we do the same? If you want to sell Gamcel or Gamtel, why don't you give it to Gambians? Why try to make arrangements, people from God knows where, to take in this very important national process. Now, sometimes this government is just one that gets involved in pretensions, as the Wallachs would say, gisma, so that people say, oh yes, they are doing well. About a few days ago, we had the chairman of Social Security and Finance Corporation reveal what this government has done. The loans that were contracted to purchase those buses were not with the Gambia, with the GTSC. They were the Social Security loaned the government of the Gambia. And you can see that the government is trying to pass on those loans to the Gambia Transport Services. Yes, Gambia Transport Services is responsible for provision of public transportation in this country, but they do so within their limits. If they do not have the financial backing, the financial backbone to do so, I don't think they will get involved in it, because the profits that they should realize would not be. They will certainly do not have the financial backbone. But government forced it, I tell you, and I tell you this with a high degree of certainty. Government forced that project because Carnifing Municipal Council was introducing the urban transport services, urban bus services. They say we preempt them because their target was to do in September last year. That was the target of the country municipal council. So they say, look, we'll just swim the carpet under them. We'll get Social Security to give money to buy buses, and we say we did it. And now they are reneging on that agreement. But of course, it's a government that is lived by deceit, a government that really deceives people. This is how they do things. I think really the most honorable thing would be for for the Minister of Finance to find the ways and means of repaying this loan to Social Security. And mark you, these are the retirees, the pensioners' funds. These are funds that belong to the Gambian pensioners. Those funds should be invested in ventures that will benefit the pensioners. You cannot take pensioners' funds, put it in this type of enterprise, and then you start arguing that you are responsible or that one is responsible. So there is a high risk of the Gambian pensioners losing a very significant part of their contribution to the funds that Social Security operates. But I mean, a government that sits at attires and then say, "Man, boy, finally, one man you're definitely." This is the type of decision they take, and not in the interest of the Gambian people. Now, and I'm not sure really how much the president, whose special project was this, I'm not sure how much thought he gave to the pensioners. I'm sure whose monthly pensions, I do not think have been increased for the past years. Because I'm sure if they did, there would have been announcements of it. There might have been announcements which I did, but I doubt if there was any. So the protection of the pensioners' funds should be very paramount with this government, because it was one of the issues that came out in the Janneh Commission, that how Yahya Jammeh, dipped into his hands into these institutions. So this should really have been very clear to them that he shouldn't really get involved in that. Now, there are a lot of acts of impunity that are taking place. Currently, we have the is it Babkar? Is it Babkar Bahum? We have the Babkar Bahum and Bintanjai saga. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. And this why at one time I gave an unsolicited advice to the Inspector General of Police to say that he should be very careful in decisions that he takes, especially decisions that appear to be of a political nature or affect politicians, or issues leading to that decision have some political undertone. And I advised him, although he didn't solicit the advice, that he should be careful about it. He should be careful because he is the brother-in-law of the president. And any actions taken by him that looks or give the impression of being biased would just be attributed to the fact that he is doing so because he is the president's brother-in-law. And this might be one of those cases. I do not really buy what I see in social media that probably the first lady was involved. I do not buy that. Because sometimes people just do things and you say doing so will really please Mr. X or Mr. Y. When I say what Mr. Bahum did was outrageous, was unacceptable. You do not insult a whole community. And the Inspector General of Police said that he is satisfied with his apology. That is not what should be the position of the Inspector General of Police. You know, Mr. Bahum, the statements he made are seditious. They are seditious. And because any statement that tends to raise disaffection or discontent amongst the inhabitants of the Gambia is seditious. Inspector General of Police, I ask you to arrest Mr. Bahum, subject him to proper interrogation, read the whole article, and see whether that statement is not likely to cause disaffection or discontent among the people of Kia. It is seditious. You cannot hide behind an apology when a person commits a crime. You cannot hide behind that. I urge you to do so, to show fair-handedness. And Bintanjai, as a Kianka, has the right to say, look, we do not condone this type of statement, because it's a statement that can cause civil strife in that community. If some Kianka boys go out and physically attack Bahum, what would he say? Are you going to charge him for assault? When he has already insulted my grandmother, my grandfather, my father, my uncle? Let us be even-handed in the discharge of our duties. IG Toure, I'm telling you, look at section 52 of the Criminal Code. Ask your legal advisors to advise you on section 52 of the Criminal Code whether this statement uttered, whether they were written by Bahum, whether they are not seditious. If they are not, then I think sedition would have another meaning that the law does not provide for. And I want all you to tell you that you have absolutely no right to accept his apology, because he did not offend you. It is not you. He directly says that, not you. So you are not the one to accept the apology. If anything, it is the people of Kia that voted against Barrow's candidates, because they were the ones that were addressed by that very, seditious statement, thing that can erupt to violence. You are not the ones addressed. Those who voted against Barrows, and they were people that he considered as ungrateful. You cannot accept the apology. It is those offended who that cannot accept the apology. Your duty now is to put in motion proper investigation. That is what your duty is, and send the file to the Attorney General, and we will be watching. But that issue has not been now been limited to Binta. She has been, I understand, she has been transferred to, I believe, Kauru, somewhere in the province. Yes, any officer, any serving officer can really be transferred to any duty station. But the circumstances under which this lady has been transferred to this provincial station is meant to punish her for standing up with her community, for standing up with people who think rightly. And that is wrong. That is misuse of power. That is misuse of your office. If you had done it under other circumstances, nobody will query it. But under these circumstances, no. You're doing it to punish her. And she doesn't deserve to be punished. The person who should be punished is Bahu. And that is taking place, these transfers. Other people who have been identified to be in the same circle with Bitanjai are now being taken to provincial stations, and some to police posts and police stations that are far below their ranks. So yes, what you say, I'll break the carbon over here. And I tell you, gentlemen of the press, one of the people who has been threatened with transfer is my son-in-law, because they know that he was a double son-in-law. Very efficient officer, well educated. He has been involved in security work outside of this country. Very competent. But because he was a Darboe's son-in-law, that these UDP guys, we must get rid of all of them. But this is not what we have bargained for. President Barrow, this is not what we have bargained for. In 2016, we took away Germany from State House because we want a society, we want a country where people really get what they deserve, meritocracy. That is what we want in this country. Not people in services, promotions, transfers, appointments, services, being based on one's political coloration. I want to urge IG to really reconsider Ms. Jai's posting, because we should not punish her for really saying that, gentlemen, you shouldn't insult me. I come from Kia. Don't insult me. Another happening in the government, which is a clear violation of our laws and the Constitution, is NPP's former, how do you call it, whether director and officer in charge of research and so forth, Kemo Conte. I know, I'm sure some of you know him. You know Kemo, when he was in the executive of the NPP, he was appointed to the Public Service Commission. And I raised the issue that the law prohibits that. And he immediately resigned from his membership of the executive of the NPP. But, you know what happened? After that, he was appointed as deputy chairman of GRTS. Deputy chairman of GRTS. And the Constitution provides that you cannot be a member of the Public Service Commission and be a member of the governing body of a public enterprise. And GRTS is a public enterprise. Well, you know, these people, they just violate the law as they go along. They don't care. Because you want to satisfy, you want Mr. Conte to have, additional earnings. You appoint him as deputy chair of GRTS, while he's also serving as a member of the Public Service Commission. And you know what? No one can be appointed to the governing body of any public enterprise. You cannot be appointed there by the president, except on the advice of the Public Service Commission. So he's a member of the Public Service Commission, now advising the president to appoint him to GRTS. What an anomaly. What an anomaly. So, these are government, his government is not misprioritizing things, but also doing things that the Gambian people have fought against from 1996 to 2016, when they finally succeeded. And we see that royally is here again. Now, talking about Gambian people fighting for a cause. Talking about that, we cannot live here without talking about the efforts of His Excellency Ibn Chambers for a new constitution. I applaud him. I pay special tribute to this gentleman who has shown great interest in our country and in democratic governance, even before his time. I know he was involved with the Gambia. Now, his efforts, I think, have been frustrated by President Darboe. What stops Barrow to adopt the people's draft, bring it to the National Assembly? And if they have any grounds with any provision of the 2020 draft, then bring it to the floor of the National Assembly. That has always been our position, that whatever changes you want to make to the 2020 draft, come with it to the National Assembly. And if you are able to convince the Assembly that changes you done to any particular provision, let it be. But can't go out there, sit there, and believe that you can draft any document and push it down the throat of the Gambian people. Well, the United Democratic Party may agree, but not under my leadership. Because I want a constitution for the Gambia, but not any constitution. And my thinking, because if I say not under my leadership, I know that the thinking of the United Democratic Party is that the 2024 draft, Barrow's draft, should not be the one that should be presented in National Assembly. You have, is it not time that we do away with nominated membership of the National Assembly? No, he is trying to increase the number of nominated members in the National Assembly. I think from 5 to 9. But not only that, but also he can dismiss you because the Yakubu Jaite under Jammeh's constitution, as bad as it is, protects National Assembly members from being really thrown out of the Assembly for no just cause. So because of the Yakubu Jaite case, he says, look, I am going to put this provision in this constitution so that I nominate you and I tell you, look, go to the National Assembly and say A, B, C, D, because that is what I want. If you don't say, I revoke your appointment. Is that what Gambians want? Is that not the executive interfering in the legislature? Where is the separation of powers? Where is putting separation of powers? The whole chapter 5 on leadership and integrity is taken out. But it doesn't surprise me. You know why? The Anti-Corruption Act that was assented to in January this year. I think it's 30th January this year. There is a section in that act that says that allegations of corruption from 1917 from 2017 to the date that he signed the Anti-Corruption Act cannot be subject of investigation. Fighting corruption, and you put that in the law, in the Anti-Corruption Act, and then put in the Constitution that when you leave office as president, or when your minister leaves office, he will not disclose, or he cannot be forced to disclose his assets. And it is between the period that you are a minister and that you exit that you have the chance to really be engaged in corrupt practices. That's the time that you make deals in the contracts, in procurements, and all those things. And then you say, no, you should not, you should not. And you want that constitution to be presented to National Assembly? When I kid the 500 Gambians here? No, really. Really, it's taking Gambians for granted. It's really taken for Gambians for granted. And I just want to say shortly on that, that United Democratic Party, we want a constitution, but we do not want any constitution. The 2020 draft constitution is the one that has been the subject of considerable discussion, broadly, in the Gambia and outside of the Gambia. All sectors of the society, the Gambia Press Union, the Bar Association, Teachers Union, women, political parties, all have been involved in really contributing their ideas to the 2020 draft. Whereas the 2024 draft was Jammeh and his cabinet. Barrow and his cabinet. They are the only. It was only their thoughts that were put in that. When that draft was before it was gazetted, it was never presented to the Gambian people to discuss it and to say, well, this is what I feel about clause 1. This is what I feel about clause 13. They took us for granted and took it there. And they think that they can blackmail some Gambians. No. Our position is 2020 draft. And the argument that they make that, but a draft that has been rejected, how can you bring it to the National Assembly? Who says you cannot bring it? I want them to show me anywhere in the standing orders of the Gambia or in the constitution of the Gambia that a measure that has been defeated by the National Assembly cannot be brought back to the Assembly. A measure that has been defeated cannot be brought in the same session in which it was defeated, but not another session. So this is our position on the draft constitution, and of course also there are a lot of I don't know whether I should see debate, but there are a lot of views, different views have been expressed about third term and so forth. The constitution, current constitution, does not provide for a third term, absolutely. But men are judged by their words. In 2016, 2017, in fact, 2016, before President Barrow went to Mali, when well-wishers were coming to meet him at Brufut Heights, he did make a statement that, yes, Gambians must now realize that no president can really go back to his office if the Gambians reject him at the election. The Gambians' power is manifested, that they are the people who have the power to change the government, and is manifested in the 2016 elections. There can be no doubt about that. And he also said, look, from now on, no Gambian will serve as president of this country for more than 2 terms. And I believe that no president includes him. So if there is no provision in the Constitution, your word at that time, address your well-wishers, that no person will serve president of this country for more than 2 terms. I think, Mr. President, you should abide by that, and that should be, that should be a moral code that should really, guide you. But of course, he has a choice to really do what is expected of him as part of this declaration. But if he does not, I think the Gambian people will get together and vote against him, so that the third term that he's talking about, he will not have a third term. And so, also, when he does not have a third term in office, then the party that he wants to save, will die in its infancy. So, gentlemen of the press, I want to thank, I think I've been talking too long, so I just want to Thank you for honoring our invitation, and hopefully will meet soon. But now one last point. In my congratulatory letter to the president, I did say that in the next couple of days, he will be called upon to appoint a new chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission. I believe the current chairman, who appears to have overstayed, will vacate office in February. I'm sorry, on Friday. There would be no issue of a renewal. So, Mr. President, I just want to repeat my appeal. But then, with this slant, you know, the 2020 draft does provide for qualification of chairmen of independent institutions. I believe also your draft also has a similar provision, and that is to say that the chairman of independent institutions like Human Rights Commission, Independent Electoral Commission, must be judges of the Supreme Court, or a person, or a retired judge, or a person qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court. Mr. President, if you believe in your 2024 draft, please look for a judge of the Supreme Court, a retired judge, or a person qualified to appoint as judge of the Supreme Court, appoint him as chairman. Don't appoint someone who does not have that qualification. Because there is a deeming provision that the Independent Electoral Commission or the existing institutions will continue to be the institution as if they were appointed under the Constitution that we expect to come into force. So you wouldn't have any deeming provision. So I ask you, Mr. President, that there are judges who are competent, who are honest, who are sincere, who are patriots, to show us that you really even want your own constitution. Please act now and appoint a judge as chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Party Leader. Members of the press, and all those present here, we have just listened to a wide-ranging rendition of the situation of the Gambia as of today. The party leader has touched on corruption, has touched on integrity in leadership, has touched on a wide range of topics that are of paramount importance to the country and the way forward. We'll now open the floor for questions from members of the press. Please remember that before you ask your question, you mention your name and the organization you represent, and make the question as short as possible. Thank you.
We'll see when we can start.
The first question, please. Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, Honorable. Thank you very much for that in-depth deliberation. My name is Alh I work for the party network. I have two questions. I'm going to keep them short and simple. The first question is, we understand during the consultation recently with ideas, you had a close door meeting with President Barrow.
Sorry.
It is reported that you had a close door meeting with President Barrow regarding differences on the draft constitution. I would like you to give us details about what you discussed pertaining to the draft constitution. My second question is, you talked on the government need to invest in agriculture, health, energy, and also education. what will a independent government do to ensure that they invest in these very important sectors without heavily relying on donor funding? Thank you.
Without it?
Heavily relying on donor funding.
On donor funding. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mania. My meeting with President Barrow, my consultation with President Barrow was a closed door consultation. Our aides were not even available with us. So I think it will be indiscreet of me to really discuss what took place at that consultation. If we wanted, if that was to happen, it would really be a closed door. It will be open. So I don't think I will act in good faith. It will be discreet of me to say, well, this is what he said, this is what I said, this is what I said. Before I went there, everybody knew that we are talking about we were the 2020 draft. Everybody knew that. And also, everybody knows that we want the 2024 draft. So that is to the extent I can say. But I cannot say that we discussed this, we discussed that. Now, on the issue of how we are going to develop the country, how we're going to develop agriculture without relying on donor funding. Well, donor funding, certainly no government will reject donor funding because that's something that we have been given. What we will be very mindful about is loans. That is be very, very mindful about. But the donor funding, certainly, no government will definitely give its back to that. And of course, we will look at how much or what should be the allocation of the President's office. Is it necessary to give the President's office $45 million to go on the countrywide tour? Is it necessary? Can you really reduce that and put that amount into into one of these areas? The President's travel abroad, 100 million. Is it really necessary to have that? Especially in this age, where you can have meetings virtual. Do you have to go to every meeting? So you have to make cuts in those areas. Now, vehicles, allocated $800,000 to vehicles. Why would you need so many vehicles? For instance, the OIC, the number of vehicles that was bought for OIC, do you need them for just a 2-day event? But now what do we see? We see that those are the luxury vehicles that the ministers and some other people in government are using. All those are areas that you can make savings on. In fact, lubricants, 300 million. If you reduce the fleet of vehicles, that is government service, you will reduce your expenditure on fuel. And all these are things that you can apply to other sectors, to these important sectors of the economy. See, 2017, when we were in cabinet, Honorable Ahmad Saleh presented the budget. When that budget addressed some of these wasteful expenditures, and for that year alone, he was going to make a saving of $300 million. Now, tourism, you have, how many? 54 million for tourism. Now, that 300 million, if you are to take part of it and inject it into tourism industry, into that industry, tourist industry, the fisheries is about 56 million. If you take part of that 3 million and inject it in the fisheries sector, you really be doing something for the country. So wasteful expenditure, we certainly have to do away with. Even just recently, when the president went around visiting the industries, did you see the fleet of vehicles? I'm sure you were there. Fatu Network, I'm sure you are there. Do you see the fleet of vehicles? And you know how much money is spent in fueling those vehicles and how much manpower is wasted. Because the number of people that went to it, the manpower that's invested, that could have sat in their offices, do the needful for the country, but then the country is being deprived of that. So all these are the things that we are going to look at to make sure that what we've been telling the people since 1996 is what we are now doing.
Just a follow-up question.
Yeah?
Assuming that the 2026 presidential election are just at the corner, assuming that Darboe is the next winner for this election, what will happen to these luxury vehicles which you believe are not necessary for the government to do in a country that is grappling with debts and loans?
Well, what we will do with it, we'll certainly put it as part of the conference center, you know, and they'll be on hire even by government, so that you have a like the independence anniversary, the VIPs that came in. If you have to use any of those vehicles, government should pay for them, and we'll attach it to the OIC and try to create sovereign fund. Yeah, I think that's what we do. At least I think that should be. But then when it comes to that, you know, I have my team of economists, you know, and I'm sure this will be one of the things that we will address it. But I can tell you that, you know, we will not leave it ministers to really be using them, because every minister had a roadworthy vehicle by the time that the OIC conference was taking place there. 2, one for the minister and one utility. Why do you have to change all those vehicles? And then, no, it's wasteful.
Yes, gentlemen. Your name and your organization.
Good afternoon. I am Asamba, online speaker. So you talked about the 2020 draft. It seems it is still alive. So what do you think will be done to bring this 2020 draft to the assembly? And the second question will be, how would you compare the 1997 Constitution to the 2024 draft?
Sorry, 20?
2024 draft. How would you compare them?
Okay. All right. I think your first question is that the 2020 draft is alive.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you do to bring it to the National Assembly?
Yes. Instead of the 2024.
Yeah. Well, I think that is where the will of the president and his government lies. Their political will. To at least be empathic with the Gambian people. To say you have spent $116 million on this draft. I will not allow it to really die. I'm going to take it to the National Assembly. And I'll tell all the members of my party in the National Assembly that they must vote. And I'll make sure that the chief whip really gets all online. And UDP should also, and likewise, the chief whip should make sure that all his members vote in support of the being promulgated the 2020 draft. Well, it will then not be 2020 draft. It will be a draft with another year on it. It cannot be the 2020 draft. And when it passes, President Adam Barrow, myself, and all those who support the 2020 draft, we go to the Gambian people and tell them, look, you spent your money on this. Vote for it. and it will pass, so that the threshold will be met very easily. Yeah. Now the Barrow draft and the 1997 Constitution. Let me just tell you one thing that is there. Yeah. One thing that is there that makes it different. You see, when the police arrest you by the 1997 Constitution, yeah, you cannot be held. Or you can be held for 72 hours. Yeah, you can be held for 72 hours. That the Barrow government wants that to have back. Whereas the 2024, the 2020 rather says that not more than 48 hours. So that is addressing and giving cognizance to the liberty and freedom of the individuals. Also, as this said, that the 2024 draft does not make it incumbent on the president or members of the ministers to declare their assets on vacating the office. But look at the 1997 Constitution. Even though it is in directive principles, it says that I think every 2 years or so, public officers must declare their assets, and they must also declare their assets when they vacate office. But you don't have that you have it in the 2024 draft for judges and members of the National Assembly, but not for members of the Executive. At least that is a difference.
Yes. So now that the government has introduced another draft, that is the 2024 draft. So do you think that if this draft fails, we will have a new constitution?
You will have a new constitution if you, the government people, vote in United Democratic Party at the next election. You will have a new constitution.
Next question, please. Camaraba. Community Alh Ousainou ANM Tentro Genko by Commission of Sudah mau yang sebenarnya kalau perubahan si kalau lalu apa mau jalan tu sudah kita full katina juga beru tadi juga beru yang apa kita ambil pada itu so lebih mana kita tahu yang kami kita kaya para kamu ikan tak kira kau kita jadi apa sosial mana yang kita yang mau nanti mau ada yang kita sedang
sorry, from the sound you man think about
well, ela for ela dia mo ko ka ko na ko ka parti sa ko de tinu kele ka ka sa ani me de ko ko na ti ko de fresh ka ni abi mo fe ko ka belo ka ni ka ni ko sa ko ti ne ka lo ni lo na ko ba ni ani bi ka ja ni ala ma sibiya ma ngi la pati ti bari ngati ko police ya ko mo la ni ko ne ya ko ma ya ko ka ko
ela jenegar folo elo natara mo ebe menke ka wale be men foka iman lala adon ye opportunity soto pour ka kuke yabo to pour ye ku soto wato imari long kang ni amake tonya but 1996 for science dok makiling fora ngana na bo kombe balo do pour mo le ka do ba sila ta ka bo nimba fola mo ta ka to dilan wale o mane la bodo malla kame bodo malla lillata ma fola ngamo convince ka ko kame fali wala ko tonya wala banko la na fali tiling ka sabati de banko corruption na sabati de banko no by banko ni mi convince e ka to fay bidon sano sako ko inteni te be yemira yakina bar ni ko ni ka corruption le fight oto de ka to fay lay oto e tel mo mol le kono be lafta nyim banko na tinyala so ni lafta banko na ay ta ba quand même fo la bu nyano ko ka fo da bako banko e betea pour bele na tinyala mana be tinyala bele so ko mo ela principles yo ela conviction ni experience ya ken ya ba yo bula e ko badu ngam be men to ngobula dan ko to ngani so wo fang le ka na mol ka jubina ka fo bari a nyindi ni defo afale na ba ko ko daga adum me ala dal la menna olon na manya ni nak for kan man be ala la kan ko kif ko ken fo ngam fo mo be tudula na to na Binta Njai a Binta Njai la ko amanke kaf ko police also for be pam politicien tiban pas de politicien tiban on mata même matata te fe wolon ko ebe men kan ebe advantage leta kan ke man sembo soto men jata nyen sa kela men ye ku ke men ye luatinya ka men sedition wonon bankunte e nyanta ba arrest la yakitin kadu ka kumo men fo na gambia luwato as problem onati node kadu ko mol mel yalo ka ko wol mu grateful wonon ka ko imam mola nyinyalo wonon wat was grateful ko nyin imang ko kiyan ko le imam mola nyinyalo on kiyan ka juma lo wol di mel yalo ka ko wolle man karto fay NPP la candidature so e bolle nenkan what was the problem on that knowledge banko kan according to law wo mari le nyata mutla ya charge e manya na Binta Njai tara ko e ba transfer la ka ko transfer men wala ka ko be kulu kande ay mun ko e ba kulu la men yen na wulula ne bon bota dame yol ne ado nyama ke sit ka ko dol mel fana le karto fay kiyankolu bel fana le karto fay e be man ke mande ko man sa man ke si ko kiyankol mel be karto fay yol le nen nata nun ka foko NPP la gagné da jedo e be kiyankol la be jay la de bar hani ame jay ayenen ka ko almam kamola nyi nyalon ayen ole bu kamo tentu waka ko kendo ke bu ka tentu mu nyoyo fo ko mo me yalon ka ko kuma ke jaw balom do ko hey kana nyi ke de e bentel nenen kan men dia tan no mole yole ke e ko hande mun ane te bo fo da ngam ra police nyata men kala ya fo ka ma Binta Njai da nyi men fo de afan su mo no wadi de nyi manka police la kuma bari ko batala ebe sembo jay la kan ka ko la place de set bukata ya transfer nyinde apart from any other thing ngamira human rights that it may mafka one of them, but it may involve some human rights issues ni lam quality mel ya lon ka foko nyanda nga ak lo tuito kado aka menke aka kolle manende aka banko me yalum ka fo telebe marlola ni laka pile of demande ye feke ya ko ni made mo dictator de abukala dictator abukaka ke lunkili de kulle ka ke wala ka la nyoka wala ka la nyoka ye ndam ka fo made mo dictator de adu president ma barwa mama la ka ko na dictator kele janno mo mo di janno be de tak dictator kele bo janno e fana na ke dictator di mamira te fon lafta wala mami lafta mo ya fo mo dictator de baba la sidi ngamme fo don ka ko sidi toure de ni aya samba dame aya murunna aya fanka farata abe to ko ya sol la nyata de na fayla kay ko isi haklot baake itla police ba ta mal la nyam surtout ko me ya don ka ko Isa amira kaf ko politiko ba ko. Kanya manya be manya ke e ba fula kaf ko adama baro mi bitannati abade muso be futu kayre wala ne be munyi manya ke. Adi ye fantan kandi wala. Na ayamar wala adu hani bi ba ayamar la wala aya fantan kandi wala.
We're going to entertain 6 questions. We already have 6 questions. 2 from all the 3 people who asked questions. But we'll take one last question from a lady. What's your name?
Everyone, I'm Ms. and I work for Equity International. You emphasize a lot about the national asset. Why do you want it to be in the hands of Gambians rather than the foreigners?
Well, simple answer. I want to be in the Gambia, in the hands of the Gambia, because I want the Gambia to control the economy of this country.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's passionate one?
Yeah, one more question.
All right, we'll take the last one. Passionate one.
Okay, good afternoon once again. Honorable. Hello, good afternoon, Honorable. Once again, thank you so much for the patience. You talk so much on corruption. We also the evidence out there. I believe that the coming government, if it is good, if you have a lot of work to do, what will be your policy to ensure that corruption will be a thing of the past in this country?
We will not only engage in civic education to inculcate in the Gambians the virtues of honesty, the virtues of integrity, but will also buy Gambians to understand how much damage corruption does to the country. Corruption destroys the economy of a country just as cancer destroys tissues, human tissues. That's what it does. And we will not only do that, we will try to introduce, in fact, it's not a question of trying to introduce, it will be part of the curriculum in the schools, from primary school. People will be exposed to the virtues of integrity. And that is why the deletion of leadership and integrity, chapter 5 of the, from the 2020 draft, the Barrow draft, deletes that's why it should not even be looked at. And then, of course, we're very, very strict. There will be no sacred cows. There will be no sacred cows. If a founding member of the party holds an office, a public office, and is found to be involved in corruption, and we will deal with the person severely, because one is not only violating the laws of the country, but also our own core values. What made us talk together from 1996 up to the time that person is taking office. Those core values, when he goes against it, certainly there would be no issue of masala, or no issue of masala at all.
Thank you very much, thank you, leader. I also want to thank ladies and gentlemen of the press and all the invited guests here. We look forward to the next meeting in a couple of
Take a picture of this thing.
hours' time.
Picture of this thing.
Shall we point together and
Agret. No giri.
Alhamdulillah.
Dogur albag. Alhamdulillah. Yes. Alvin. Albaga. Naam. Ha? Sunkaro. Mulbe nyaato debbo wala to de. Yami mera won tande. E sabale. Yamre nyame. Le sabale saba. Afolo na lumenda. Bi.